Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Welcome to the City of Forest Park, and I would certainly like to thank you for all of you who have been in attendance to the superintendent critical conversations in the past. Of course, this is a new school year, mid-semester, and we're back again to share some critical information and provide some updates about the great work that's underway amongst all of your leaders here. Without further ado, I'm going to yield and allow our Madam Mayor, who's shaking her head at me, to grace us at the podium so she can provide some greetings who would never come in your house, and certainly not allow you the opportunity to provide some brief remarks. And then next you'll hear from our superintendent, and then allow you an opportunity to engage in any questions that you may have for us or members of our leadership team who is also present this evening. Madam Mayor, and that's Angeline Butler.
Well, good evening, everyone. On behalf of the governing body and residents of the great city of Forest Park, I want to extend greetings and thank you all for being present in this moment. I just want to send a sincere thank you directly to Dr. Beasley. All of your efforts and work that you have poured into our school system and our youth is worth commending continuously because it's a continual effort. And not only that, it's a collaborative effort. So everyone in this room and beyond has a vested interest in the development of our youth. And it's only together that we will be able to continue to progress and keep moving those numbers upward as they have been. And so it's a huge testament to your leadership and the efforts of everyone in this room. So I will not delay this moment any longer. I know you guys are here to hear from the man himself. And so without further ado, I would like to bring up Dr. Beasley. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for this opportunity. It's always great to be in Forest Park, and Mayor Butler is always very gracious to us, and I would always say just a member on the team, because it is a team effort, and we appreciate clearly the leadership that's being provided in the city of Forest Park. I'm used to seeing Miss Angela, so I don't see her today, but let her know that we wanted, as the city manager, that we appreciate this opportunity. Thank you all for being here. We have a PowerPoint that we use for these opportunities, but we're in the second quarter, so we're going to take a little twist with this meeting here. I think many of you, some of you probably have attended some of the previous meetings. What I'd like to do is draw your attention to the PowerPoint as it's located on the website. It has all the information that you would want to read and at least consume relative to what we're doing, our strategic plan, what we're doing day to day to move our school system in the right direction. And so if you would go to the website, there are a list of links on the left side of the website. And if you would hit the link Critical Conversations, that link will take you directly to the PowerPoint. What I'd like to do today, if I may, is I want to introduce you to the team members, go over a few things with you briefly, but then give you an opportunity to ask questions. I believe the last conversation we had quite a few questions. And so I want to respect your time. I want to respect your ability to read the information that we have provided, but I also want to make full use of staff being here today to respond to any questions that you may have, regardless of what it is. And I would say that very passionately, it doesn't matter what it is, you can ask the staff the question. If we don't know, we don't mind telling you we don't know, but we'll find out, period. There's no shame in our game in that regard. I want to acknowledge, I see Ms. Victoria Williams, our board member, here. Let's acknowledge her. And any other elected officials? Any other elected officials here? All right, very good. Other than mayor, very good. What I want you to see exactly, members of the team who are working with us to move the system we believe in the right direction. And it takes a collaborative effort. Of course, an internal team, but at large, as Mayor Butler has already shared, it takes a collaboration with this entire community. Make no mistake, while we are uniquely positioned as the superintendent to move the district and lead the effort, it is not the superintendent's responsibility to improve outcomes solely. It's all of our responsibility. Every member in this community is responsible for contributing to what needs to occur to move our school district in the right direction. And as you engage with us, as you attend these meetings, as you attend other opportunities, your comments, your feedback, even when you respond to a survey, all of that information is used to inform our conversations and to inform our decisions. Because we recognize that we are clearly stewards of the 55,000 plus children that you send to us every day to educate, to prepare for post-secondary options. We used to say 54,000, but now we're above 55,000 and the numbers are climbing. And so that speaks to our community as a whole, clearly being a community that many families see as a choice for educating, at least at the K-12 level, educating their children right here in Clayton County Public Schools. I'd like to just point out a few things to you, but let me introduce the staff. I want our deputy superintendents that are here to stand. I have Dr. Simpson, who's Deputy Superintendent for School Leadership. He supervises all schools. We have Dr. Anthony Smith, Deputy Superintendent, Second in Command. We have, I see our chiefs, if you would stand, please. We've got our communications chief over here, Jay, you've heard from Jada. We've got our chief of technology, Rod Smith, our chief of HR, Dr. Jamie Wilson, our chief of safety and security, Thomas Treywick. I'd like the rest of the staff, because I'm going to do good, I'm going to introduce all of you. You know, this is so important. We were at, it had to be the last critical conversation we were at, and there was a parent from the North Clayton community. And it was her first meeting, and she had children in the district, and she didn't know who was who and what was what relative to navigating the school system. So we made a point to let her know we work for you all. So you need to know who we are. In the event you have a question, you know, a lot of people send questions to the superintendent, and what I'll do, I'll just send it to one of these staff members, especially if it's their area of expertise in the area in which they're responsible for. And so you need to know who serves the 55,000 plus children in this community, and I want to say almost 280,000 citizens in this county now, and the population in this county is growing. So staff, other staff members, please stand. I want to introduce you one by one. Dr. Ebony Lee, up here, just wave your hand. She's Director over Curriculum Instruction and Assessment. We've got Mr. Ronnie Joseph. You may hear from him today. He is the guy over all the SPLOS and construction programs. We've got Dr. Keith Colbert. He is an assistant superintendent. He supervises a cluster of schools. We've got our Director of Equity and Compliance, Damaris Garrett. She handles all the stuff when folks decide they want to do something they shouldn't be doing. She handles it. We've got Lisa Donzel. She works in our Business Services Department, and she's responsible for staffing allocation. So if you ever have a question about, will we get an extra teacher? That's probably the lady you should see. We've got Mr. Kenneth Thompson. He is our Executive Director over Operations. And operations would include school nutrition, transportation, athletics. What am I forgetting? I know maintenance. Oh, yeah, maintenance. And whatever else is there. Thank you. Behind him, I won't get to, we've got Sam Colbert. He is our Director of Maintenance. And then we've got Dee Hall, who is one of our coordinators of transportation. So if the buses don't go right, if they don't get there on time, see Dee. Call Dee. Call Dee. We've got Audrey Hamilton. Every day our children eat a great breakfast and a great lunch and snacks, right? And that would be her responsibility. We've got our Director of Fine Arts and School Choice. So if you have a question about how do you get a child to a particular school, that would be Dr. Monica Wiley back there. And so we're here, we got Mr. Charles White. You see this gentleman up here with the camera? You all, have you ever wondered who the voice was behind the school messenger? when you get the message, and I believe the last one was in the middle of the night, like 3 in the morning. Yes. That would have been him. Talk to him. And of course, we've got Ronald over there who is live streaming this effort tonight. And we've got staff, our interpreters. Let's give them a hand as well. We're so glad to have our interpreters as well. So, a few things I'd like to share. You should have this handout here. If you would, let's take a look at this handout. I want you to notice the first thing. Our goal in K-12 education, in particular in our school system, is to graduate our students, right? Not only to graduate them, but they've got to be college and career ready. We want our students to be successful. We want them to exercise post-secondary options. Before I do that, I see some principals. I see one principal, Dr. Radcliffe Oliver. Any other principals? Mr. West, that's right, Mr. West of Church Street. Any other administrators, APs? Let's recognize our other employees. I see some other employees here. Stand up, Dr. Wallace, stand up. You're an employee, stand up. Stand up. These are employees, so if y'all have a problem with, in particular, with the way we teach in math, just say something to her about it. She supports our teachers at Monday's Mill High School, I believe it is. So, but our goal is to get kids graduated and get them prepared for post-secondary options. Now, you should know, I shared this today. I was at a meeting in downtown Atlanta. I shared this. For the first time in the history of Clayton County, our grad rate is above 70%. That is worthy of a clap. Last year was the first, listen to this, you all. Last year was the first year we got all schools above 60%. The district was still in the 60s. Now we are above 70%. Listen to this. We have 11 high schools, comprehensive high schools. All are above 70%, all 11. But listen to this. Out of the 11, 7 of them are above 80%. And 2 of the 7 are at 100%. And so we know we're moving in the right direction. So you can see on this handout the growth that has occurred from the previous school year. Our schools are growing. Our principals are working with the teachers and the counselors and everyone else and parents to ensure that our kids are coming to school and doing well while they're in school in order to earn their high school diplomas. We have one alternative school. It has a grad rate of 34%. And when we compare its grad rate to other alternative schools in the metro area, it's one of the highest, if not the highest grad rate. So let's give Perry Academy a great round of applause. I often say that alternative school serves children that oftentimes, if you listen to them, they have a reason to drop out of high school. But we're doing our best to keep those kids in high school because we know that if they can graduate from high school, that their future will afford them more opportunities with a high school diploma than without a high school diploma. And so that's why it's important that we also celebrate Perry Academy and the role that it plays in our school system. But you should see very clearly on the front of this document our district goals. And we have basically 5 goals. I won't read these goals to you, but the first one is about improving academic achievement. The second one is to ensure we have a safe and orderly environment. The third one is to ensure that we engage our community. Therefore, that's why we have these opportunities. The fourth one is to provide support services, realizing that sometimes our students are dealing with things beyond their control, but it impacts the way they learn in the classroom. And so we've got to mitigate for those impacts. And lastly, we want to always ensure that we recruit, retain, train up highly qualified staff members at every level, whether they're teachers or principals or paras, whatever position a person may be employed in, we want to ensure that they're the best person for the job. We have identified a few performance objectives. You should know that our goal is to flip our data. Right now, we have about 25% of our kids who are really passing all of their state tests. And the state tests are more rigorous than they have been. If you don't know this, you should. Before 2015, our county was pretty high in the passing rates, 80 and 90% on the CRCT. But once the state implemented a new, more rigorous test, all the districts, mostly, I want to say all in the state, took a dip. And the state's data is not that impressive. But right now, we've got about 25% of our kids that are passing all of their tests. Trailing the state and trailing the Metro RESA. The data, again, is on the PowerPoint for you to see. So our work is clear. We've got to get our kids performing at higher levels. But you should know this, about 60% of our kids are reading on or above grade level. Trailing the state, I think the state is about 70%. So we've got 60% of the kids that can read, but then about 25% passing the test. So we know they can read, so why aren't they passing the test? See, that's a different type of conversation. We know that the standards are more rigorous. They're international, we call them national standards, but they're internationally benchmarked. They are more rigorous standards. And so our state has been in a transition since 2010 to ensure that our instruction, the quality of our instruction, matches the rigor of the assessment. And Clayton County clearly is doing that work. Areas of improvement for sure. We are seeing improvement in our content areas: science, math, ELA, which includes reading, and social studies. But we've got work to do, and that's why I often say improving student outcomes, that's a community's effort. Yes, we have a strategy. We have ensured that we've identified an academic focus. Our teachers are working with higher order thinking questions. They're ensuring that our kids have academic discourse. They're talking about the standards. They're engaged in those higher order thinking question type of discussions. And our students are writing. And so we're looking at evidence-based writing across the curriculum. But I have to always remind people that for the most part, we have the students 6, maybe 7 hours a day. There are many more hours in the day. And our students need to be engaged well beyond the schoolhouse. Are we working on teacher quality? Of course we are. Are we developing our teachers, providing coaching support, training them in areas so they can be more proficient in their content, in their delivery, or their pedagogy? Of course we are. But it takes a community effort to really move student achievement fundamentally in a positive direction. And so we're seeing the increases. I believe that our momentum will continue to increase. Our goal, again, is to flip the data. Within 5 years, we want 80% or more of our kids proficient on these state tests. Even though you may have read a recent press release that we are one of the pilot districts approved by the State Board of Education to eventually, within the next 3 to 5 years, move away from the state test and use our own assessment throughout the year that will give us the information we need to get to make decisions timely to give students the support that they need. And so we're not counting on some big testing episode in the months of April or May. We're getting the data that we need from day to day, month to month, in order to inform instruction, inform tutorials, inform support to students so that they can be prepared for post-secondary options. So more to come in that area. We're working to increase our grad rate. And so as I said, we're above 70% now. Our goal is to get everybody, district included, at 90% or higher in the next 5 years. Can it happen? Yes, it can happen if we believe in it and we work as a community to ensure that our strategies are working. But remember this, as I've said before, it's a community effort. It takes all of us. That means parents have to ensure that children are where? In school. When children seem to want to make sometimes silly decisions, we've got to support principals and teachers as we ensure that the classroom climate is a positive environment for learning. You can't have kids doing whatever they want to do and expect teachers to teach. It just doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. Everyone has to have an expectation that when our kids come to school, they come to learn. They come to learn. So one of our performance objectives, number 3, would be to ensure that we have less of our kids who are missing more than 10% of the year. And so if there are 180 days in a year, 10% is even too much, 18 days a year. You would not probably be surprised to hear this, but we have some students who are missing that much school and they're not ill. We've got to change that as a community, and that's why I'm pleased to share that our principals and our safety and security and our counselors and our social workers are working with even Sheriff Hill's office, to ensure that we don't mind doing a drop-by visit when we pull the data and we see that you're not in school. Because the community cannot hold the school system accountable for improving performance if the community doesn't send its children where? To school, period. And you can't hold the school system or the schools accountable for improving outcomes if we don't hold our children to high expectations relative to their discipline and what we expect them to do when they're in those classrooms. And lastly, we're working to decrease the number of discipline infractions. Last year, we saw a decrease in all of the top 10 areas wherein we had infractions, discipline infractions. Our goal is to consistently see a decrease. I would love a day wherein as a community, we're not talking about discipline issues. But guess what? There are 55,000 children, and I don't raise not one of them. There are many households, and there are many different philosophies relative to raising children, which is fine. This is America. We can all have different philosophies. But no matter what one's philosophy is, we have to have a common expectation when our children come to school that they do what? Behave so the teachers can do what? Teach, period. Period. And so part of our work is to ensure that our students understand that there are just some behaviors that lend themselves to academic performance, and there are some behaviors that distract from academic performance. And so I'll say this, as a parent, and I know we all get excited when we birth those beautiful babies, don't we? But some of that stuff that we smile and we laugh at, it may be cute at home, but when you get in a classroom with 30 kids and 34 and 35 kids, sometimes it can be rather what? Distracting. And we've got to help our children understand that there's a time and a what? Time and a place. Time and a place. And so you see our performance objectives. You can see by the year 2023, we want at a minimum, this is not our maximum goal, at a minimum we want 80% of our kids performing on or above grade level. Clearly our vision is to be a high-performing school system. Our mission every day is to empower our students to achieve their academic and personal goals. You should know, I'm very encouraged by what our students are doing. Last year we saw an increase of about 700 additional students taking advanced placement in dual enrollment courses. You're going to see more increases like that as we, the adults, convey that in Clayton County Public Schools we have high expectations of our students. Our students will do what? Rise to the level of our what? They will. They will. Consistently they'll rise to the level of our expectations. We have school choice options. We want you to know that we currently have, you've heard of Unidose Dual Immersion Program, but not only will we have Unidose, we've opened up 2 Spanish Dual Immersion programs this year. Next year we're opening a French Dual Immersion. And the year after that we're opening a Chinese Dual Immersion. We've got the International Baccalaureate Program. The Cambridge program has already been approved in our district. Drew High School is now a magnet, for a medical school magnet. Students who go there, our goal is to get those kids into some undergraduate program that will usher them into some type of medical program. You should know we have the firefighter EMT pathways at Mundy's Mill in Drew High School. We have aviation, we're starting at North Clayton High School, and North Clayton is now an early college academy. What does that mean to you? That with the support of the principal and the teachers and the collaboration with the likes of Clayton State University, Atlanta Metro, and Atlanta Tech, our goal is to graduate every student at North Clayton High School with a high school diploma and an associate's degree. That's the direction our school system is headed in. Will it take time? Of course it will. I often say, anything worth doing takes quite a bit of energy and may take time to do. And so, but we're very pleased that we're going in the right direction. I want to share our SPLOS on March 19th, and you should record that date in your mind. On March 19th, all of the citizens of Clayton County will be able to go to the polls and vote to determine whether or not they would like to renew the current 1 penny on every dollar here in Clayton County. That money, those funds generated, will be used to continue to build new schools, upgrade schools, HVAC, air conditioning, more familiar, known as. Those funds will be used to expand our one-to-one initiative, which includes providing a Chromebook to all of our students in grades 3 through 12 over the next 3 to 4 years. The SPLOST 6 will include a new high school for Morrow High School, a new middle school for Forest Park Middle School, a new elementary school for in the Lovejoy area, and potentially an additional elementary school, a college and career academy that will serve all of the students in Clayton County Public Schools. And so while in my official capacity as superintendent, I can't tell you how to vote, I can tell you this, that if this community wants those things that I've just mentioned to occur, their vote will reflect that. If they don't want those things to occur, their vote will reflect that as well. I can assure you this, that if the referendum doesn't pass, there is no plan B, because there are no other resources. 92% of our budget is already in staffing, 8% in operations and maintenance. We have no additional money to go towards those things that I just mentioned. That's the purpose. That's why the state constitution gives communities the option of doing a SPLOST. And so again, what date did I say, everyone? This community should go to the polls and vote its preference. And I'm hopeful that we'll be celebrating on March 20th. So what I'd like to do here, I won't read the rest of these things to you. We have many accomplishments that we'll share, and we'll have to update this document periodically. But we want all of you to know that we're here to serve. We're moving in the right direction. Do we have work to do? Of course we do. I don't know of a school district in this nation that doesn't have work to do. Yes, we have work to do. But until we get 100% of our students proficient on every assessment, until we get 100% of our students reading on or above grade level, then honestly, we don't have much time to talk about anything else. But what are we going to do to move our school system forward to ensure that every child, all 55,000 plus children, are getting what they need in every classroom, every day, throughout their K-12 experience? And so, with that being stated, I'll pause. We want to give you an opportunity to share any comments, because you're giving us feedback as to whether or not we're moving in the right direction. If you have a question, we will do our best to answer the question that you may have.
If you have a question, just raise your hand, and we have one microphone, and I'll be sure to reach you if you just raise your hand. Okay, not so much. We're recording, if you could please indulge us, thank you.
What are y'all doing to bring down the class sizes?
That's a great question. And so as many of you already know, the Board of Education increased class sizes to the limit that the state allows us. And I should state, similar to Gwinnett, whose limit is also where we are. However, Dr. Simpson is working with the assistant superintendents and Lisa Domzer to review class sizes consistently, and when there's an opportunity, when we see that a teacher needs to be provided to bring those numbers down, that's exactly what's occurring. So Dr. Simpson, feel free to add anything to that. Lisa, feel free to add anything else to that.
That's it. Couldn't be any more specific, but yeah, that's it. You know, as Dr. Beasley alluded to, there's nothing much different as it relates to class sizes from Clayton and Gwinnett. You know, when we decided strategically, for other reasons, that we would have to increase class size, it was alarming to a lot of people, obviously. But, and it's not to make any excuses whatsoever, but to know that we're not the only Metro Risa school district that has that class size limit. And, you know, certainly our goal is always to bring it down. But when we see situations that we, you know, obviously need to do that, we do.
And I should just add that we're monitoring all the master schedules to see what the numbers look like. And clearly there are some subjects that may appear to be a little higher than others. But on average, I would say that all of our class sizes are within the range that the board has approved. And where there are exceptions to that average, they're addressing that with the principals.
Dr. Beasley. I think I have attended a couple of meetings, and I am a CASA, court-appointed special advocate for children, and I'm actively involved, but I'm not an employee of Clayton only, but I was involved in higher education back in India. So I want to bring to the knowledge of the superintendent and other officials, and it might be an utopian thought. You know, there is a span of control in the management. We all studied, we know, most of us, the span of control. I think that could be evolved in future, and how many students a teacher can effectively control. See, a manager can control so many employees, that's the span of control. I think that will give a cutting edge for the teachers to have a better results. Might be.
I would just say we really agree with you. We really agree. But as I shared earlier, when 92% of your budget is in personnel costs, oftentimes the only way when we, as we did in the last budget development cycle, the only way we can reduce some expenditures, we have to dip into personnel costs. And in this case, instead of having to lay off teachers, we decided to increase the class size, which reduced the number of teachers we needed by about 248 or so. And those individuals, we absorb that through attrition, retirements, et cetera, et cetera. But we agree with you. But unfortunately, we live in a state that ties our funding to class size. And I would love to go down to, let's say, 10 or 20 or 15 kids per class. But then the local budget has to absorb the cost. We can do that if we have local funds to do that. The state will only give us what we earn. We can reduce the class size, but the question is, do we have enough local funds through property taxes to help us do that? And right now, Clayton County doesn't have enough. We don't generate enough in local funding to help us reduce class size and not necessarily need the funds from the state to supplement the funds from the state.
Hello, I'm Kenny Boston. What is the board approves class size?
The board approves class size when we do the budget every year. So that I would say around, I want to say it was in May or so.
So what's that number?
Oh, it varies by subject and grade level. It's on the website. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, it varies by subject and grade level.
Okay, so the actual question I had is, how is Clayton County addressing teacher shortage? Well, I don't know about all of the schools, but I know at Mount Zion, one of the social classrooms does not have a teacher, long-term sub. Sometimes the subs are not able to handle the demands of a classroom, so sometimes they're walking out. So how trying to attract highly qualified teachers?
Well, I'll let Dr. Wilson, our HR chief, respond to that, and I'll just tell you that the first thing is to always have a conversation with your principal to see exactly what is the status of hiring someone to fill that vacancy. But Dr. Wilson can give you perspective on our numbers and where we are in that process.
Yes, thank you so much for the question. We're working every day to try to find the best teachers that we can for our students. Although we have a number of applicants, maybe a large number of applicants that apply, we try to carefully screen them to make sure we're selecting the best candidates and teachers for our children. With that being said, we currently have about 100 vacancies out of maybe 3,200 teachers, so about 100 vacancies. It's not where we want to be, comparatively speaking. In past years, we averaged maybe 300 to 400 vacancies throughout the school year. So we're better than we were. We still have work to improve. In terms of those classrooms where there are vacancies, if there are concerns, we hope that the principals will reach out to us and we can provide assistance where we can with a substitute teacher. We are actively campaigning, probably starting next week, to have a pitch with our retired teachers to see if they'll come back and assist as well.
And I'll just say this, Dr. Wilson probably can say this better than I can, but remember this as a community. While staff, we're uniquely positioned and through our vision and through our work and our leadership, we recruit, we train, but the issue that we're having is retention. So that's why we work with every principal to ensure that they create an environment that's supportive of teachers, working with parents to support teachers, to retain teachers. Always remember this, because we're in the metro area. Anyone who works in the metro area has many options. They can, and we're one of the highest paying districts in the metro area, Clayton. I think we're number 3, 2 or 3 now. But I often tell people this, and I've shared this with all your elected officials, and I'll say it again if I have to. When people who are looking for jobs in education, they Google Metro Atlanta, they're looking at what's on the web page, on the internet. When negative messages come up about our children, when negative messages come up about our county, that is repulsive to people. When we retain and then they come and we don't necessarily provide a supportive environment, they may come and stay 1 year, maybe 2, but then they're ready to move on. And so yes, we have an internal responsibility, but we also have an external responsibility. When I say that, the way we support our teachers, the way principals and parents interact with teachers. Realizing this, there used to be an assumption that you will always have teachers. Make sure you all understand what's happening in America. There's a national teacher shortage. It is more pronounced in certain communities. And oftentimes that's tied to economics, poverty, it's tied to race. Let's keep it real. And so you understand. And so we have some expectations of ourselves and some actions that we've got to do, but retention, recruitment is a community effort. It takes all of us. Creating positive schools, positive environments, parents who value the role of a teacher, who respects, understanding that if we choose to malign and disrespect our teachers, all we'll do is create a situation where their kids will have substitute teachers for the year. And so, who does it help? When we have a culture, an environment wherein we don't respect our teachers. Because they have choices. Believe you me, they have choices. And teachers are not staying in the field as long as they used to. They're tiring out. And you know why they're tiring out? Because they got to deal with discipline too much. So I know we're America, but America's going to have to get its act together. So our teachers or individuals will want to come and teach our children. The bottom line is, these educators, they didn't go to school to do a whole lot of disciplining of children. They went to school to teach. And that's the environment that we've got to create in every school and every classroom. And so, yes, I have a responsibility. My team has a responsibility. Principals do and teachers do to manage the situation. But the truth of the matter is, the community has to have the expectation of its children that when you go to school, you're there to handle business and to get an education. And we've got to work collectively to ensure that that's occurring. And I believe that will positively impact and take away this question about why don't we have enough teachers? Because every community is not experiencing that.
Dr. Beasley. 25-year veteran teacher. I appreciate everything you all are doing. Your hands are tied in a lot of areas, I know that. So community is where I want to work hard at. So I've joined a nonprofit to try to work one community, one apartment complex or whatever at a time to help out. I agree with you, beyond the classroom. And a lot of our parents are kids themselves. So the nonprofit groups, there's no panacea, but parents need help too and guidance. And SEL, I appreciate that you all, I believe you just signed on with the company. If I'm not correct, I don't know about SEL.
We have several vendors, but we do have a major social emotional learning initiative in our district right now.
which I've been talking about, and I'm so glad to see it, Dr. Simpson. So, that's the area that we want to work with too, because there's so many mental health issues. And if we could at least touch on the aspect of them relaxed enough to speak in a safe environment. And there's so much testing and everything that we have to do in schools. There's no time for that. So hopefully after school programs or somehow if we can infiltrate it in the curriculum throughout the school day, you know, those are some things I would like to see. And in communities, we're going to work together on your advisory committee. We are My Brother's House. This is my president, Cameron Williams. I'm the director and education consultant. And we are working to help the schools. Schools are not the enemy. You can't do it all. So thank you.
Thank you. And it takes efforts like that. And when you get a convergence of all these efforts, we should see a fundamental shift in our community. And so we are working. We do have a mental wellness model. We have a circle of support at every school, and that process is being used to provide, to identify and to support our students that may need that additional support that we can provide, that we have the capacity to provide, but to also refer them to agencies beyond the schoolhouse when we see that it's beyond our scope or our capacity to provide. And so we appreciate what you're doing because all of these efforts are collaborative in nature and they help produce better outcomes across the board. Thank you.
My name is Superintendent Beasley. I am a parent. Dr. Beasley, I want to say to you, many times that your parents, communities will come with complaints. However, I want to say thank you for the initiative that you have taken on to partner with business communities, such as the airport or Yoda South, I believe it is. And I've been watching and observing. It's been a long time since I've seen schools partner with business communities. And at a time such as now, I was wondering where was our children going to get the skills that they need to be productive citizens. We all know everyone is not going to obtain a four-year college degree. However, that does not mean that they cannot be very fulfilling and contributing to society. So I want to say thank you for that. I'm looking to see what is the come of North Clayton High School. That is a school that is in my district. And for the last 6 years, I've been very disappointed. So I'm waiting to see what those great things are. And again, I want to say thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I'll just say North Clayton is clearly moving in the right direction. We're pleased that it's now. That's it. It's an early college academy. The grad rate is improving, and with the efforts, and we'll have aviation program there in the new year, in the fall. With those efforts, we believe that Clayton is it's really in transition and transformation right now. Relative to our partnerships, you should know two things, everyone, that we are working at the district level to establish district-wide partnerships, but all of our principals, as the CEOs of their building, they're working to establish school-level partnerships. There are some partnerships that should occur uniquely at every school, but then there are some initiatives, partnerships that occur at the central office level. So as we are a STEM district, we're working to, we're building a rapport with Google and Apple and some other places because we want to be the technology guru, if you will, the technology hub in the metro Atlanta area. I don't know if you know, but Atlanta is becoming the Silicon Valley, if you will, of the Southeast. And so we want our school district to be known for producing students who are developed in the 4 C's. Critical thinking, creativity, collaboration, and communication, who are well-versed in higher order thinking so that they can matriculate into these various fields, in particular the STEM and the STEAM areas. More to come. You'll see more to come. We've got some things that we're working on. You will see a rollout of our foundation, a rebooting of our educational foundation. And so we're providing all of the community an opportunity to support our students. One of the things I'd like to do this year, last year we awarded 1 one 1,000 scholarship at every high school during graduation. This year, we'd like to award 10 1,000 scholarships at each graduation for every high school. And so we're working to do that, but I want everyone to know that the partnerships, we're really taking a very strategic approach to the partnerships. You should know this as well. We're looking at a middle school after-school program as well. We have Campus Kids, which is our K-5 after-school program, but now we are in the process of developing our 6-8 middle school after-school program. And so we're working out, we'll be doing a survey pretty soon to get some feedback from parents, which will be informative to our design of that program. But we realize that that's one of the areas of gap in our support to our students, especially at the 6-8 level. High school students, of course, will work with the principals. Many of them have various after-school programs, and we do provide that latitude to those high school principals if they want to work with organizations that can provide after-school programs to do just that. And so, but we want to ensure that our students are engaged, especially our younger kids who need that adult supervision, that they're engaged academically, and our after-school programs are going to be rebooted to be very STEAM focused. And so we're excited about that. And just remember that we will be the technology hub in the Metro Atlanta area. We are headed in that direction. A part of the work that we're doing with the College and Career Academy is identifying the pathways. And so make no mistake, that College and Career Academy may have pathways that do not exist anywhere today. We are right now planning some conversations with MIT, Georgia Tech, and some others we would call our thought partners to help us envision and visualize what type of pathways we should have in that College and Career Academy. Realizing this, if you hadn't thought about this, the students in our school today, they'll be in their mid-30s in the year 2050. And if they live to be 82, 85, they'll see the year 2100. And so we've got kids in our schools today who will see the mid-century of the 21st century, and they'll see the early part of the 22nd century. Think about that. I won't see the 22nd century, but they will. Isn't that amazing? So we've got to help our kids tune themselves up for the rapid changes that are currently existing, and we know that the change will continue to what? Accelerate. So that's part of our work. What's the purpose of schooling? I'll leave you that question. What's the purpose of schools today in light of how the world is changing and how uncertain it is? We've had to rethink, as a team, we've had to rethink our purpose for schooling. And so it's going to look totally different, even as we design our new schools. I want everybody to know we're not thinking traditional. Those new school designs will be very innovative, very futuristic. And we believe that that will be critical to our school system being the destination of choice when people want their children to participate in K-12 public education.
How are you? Good. All right, so with your partnership with the schools, because we work with schools right now, and in Clayton County, when you say partnerships, I know that you usually have to go to the principals to get a partnership. How does that work, and like what plans do you have in place to get other organizations to come in to actually say that, hey, we are an organization and this is something that we focus on, and we want to work with you or partner with you? STEAM is good, but what our organization focuses on is social and emotional learning, because that's very, very important. Because when we look at the students there, or the students are of today, they're always on their phones and they're not connected. So when we put them together, we want them to be socially and emotionally connected. So if we wanted to come into the school and provide our before or after school program, what system do you have in place for us to actually take care of that, or to reach out to the principals or the school board to say this is what we want to do?
Well, let me be very clear, okay? Because it's not what we want to do, it's what the school system needs you to do. And so what we like to do is make sure, because we got 1,000 folks who offer the same service you offer. We can't have 1,000 different partners. So we have very clear expectations that we have, and through our processes, internal partnership, et cetera, working with schools, Schools clearly have some latitude at their level, but then we reserve certain partnerships for district level. And we vet those partnerships to ensure that they meet the goals that we have. But Dr. Simpson and Dr. Smith will provide more information in the process, if you will, for that.
Yeah, just a little bit more information. Certainly we'll need to connect and have an opportunity to see what services you're willing to provide and offer. But from that, there's a process that has to go through our equity and compliance. Okay. Certainly it involves and entails background checks, things of that nature, but to make sure that the program is vetted, that it meets the requirements and expectations, and it aligns with what we're already providing as it relates to social emotional. But certainly we welcome that opportunity, and I'll give you my contact information, and we can set up a time to meet and see if we can make something happen.
Dr. Simpson was very thorough. I would just add, if you're not successful with one school with your particular program, it may be that they may already have a service for providing that, but we have 64 sites. So you might want to check with another principal. And once you both agree that the need is there and there's a formal process that you go through to become an official partner, and then there's some additional steps we need to do to ensure that we can allow for whomever's on your team to be around the children.
But we really encourage these type of partnerships, but I will always say, because I respect the principals as CEOs of their buildings, you should always build a positive relationship with who? The principal.
Good evening. I have a couple comments or questions, but one of them being a parent for many years in the county is the relaying of information to parents who aren't involved. One of the things, the Smarty Ants program, I have a kindergarten, so we did those activities, but I noticed in his not application, but information sheet that I filled out for enrollment, there's no information to let me know that the program existed. And the Smarty Ants was something to help, upcoming kindergartners learn to read, give them a jump start on their reading. But I didn't get anything, so had I not been an involved parent, I would not have known that even existed. So I think, we have to do a better job at relaying the information that is available and what we're already paying for to the parents who don't check the website, to the parents that don't come up to the school to know what's going on in the resources available. I know we spend a lot of money on marketing, but some of the marketing needs to be redirected to maybe some other areas.
Dr. Lee, she'll make a note of that, and we'll look at that. And I'm not really sure, because I don't know all the programs that, I've heard of Smarty.
Face-to-face communication and outreach as well. But Smart Ants was one of our initiatives this past summer to build that readiness. And so we did work closely with our parent liaisons at each school too, to make sure that they were communicating with parents, plus it was on the website. We send information home through our Connect Ed system. But thank you for that feedback. We'll make sure there are other avenues for communicating. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I was just going to say, one way that we do a lot of communication, if you download the mobile app, I guarantee you everything that Dr. Lee, Dr. Simpson, Dr. Schmidt, anybody on that team, when they send us that, Dr. Beasley has a lot of, we advertise the critical conversation. So if you encourage people to download that mobile app, much of the things we communicate, not just on the website, because from a school district standpoint, from Dr. Beasley's standpoint, from communicating to parents, we not just the website, the mobile app. I think I've even talked to Jada recently about figuring out a way to use the same sort of technology that the sheriff's department is using. If you have the app where it just texts you, he can send out those. So we're working on something like that as well. So if you download the mobile app, and I'll make sure I give you the,
She has, she's talking about parents.
I'm talking about everything.
Oh,
I didn't get
okay.
information from the school, even just a flyer that this is what we have today.
That's a gap. We're
But
working on
this is from gas at the school level, not
There's some internal things that we can certainly work on. And did you have another follow-up?
This is kind of around parent engagement. I think she touched on it, where what I see is, we have a generation of kids that are being raised by unparented individuals. So are there any programs to kind of, can't go back and teach them what they should have learned from their parents, but to kind of guide them to say, hey, you know, as a parent, you should make sure your child goes to bed at a different hour, at a decent time. You know, should try to make sure that they, you know, have something. I know we got issues with economics, but I think some people need a mentor. I had great parents, most of y'all probably had great parents, but it's a lot of people in the district that didn't have the parents that we had. And they don't have the grandparents that, you know, we had. So I think, even though that's not in the overall objective of the school district, is something that I think school district maybe needs to look at.
I don't think that particular issue is, but we do engage our parents. Every school clearly has a parent liaison. They engage parents. We have school level, district level events. We are working to expand our pre-K because we realize that there are many persons out there who have children that will come to our schools, but we don't necessarily have their contact information. So that's constant work in that area. I will say that that's where the collaborations and partnerships are very important. The churches, and that's why we meet with our faith-based community as well, and we share some of our challenges, successes and challenges, with the expectation and hope that they will help us bridge some of the gaps. The truth of the matter is this, that no matter what we do as a school system, this community has got to work diligently to address the population that resides in this county. We can, as you share, we can send out a lot of information, but sometimes we end up talking to the same people over and over again. So we've got to be creative. That's why I don't mind, and I've gone to homeowners associations. I'll even go to apartment complexes if I have to talk to the parents. But we need not just the school system doing that. We need various entities and organizations doing those very same things. You should know this if you don't know this. Clayton County teen birth rate is declining. And so I hear people saying that we have a lot of young parents. I don't know how true that is anymore. I don't know, you said they're not parented. They've been parented, just not the way you probably would want them to be parented. But I think those are dynamics that we've got to take into consideration as well. But your point is taken, well taken.
Since I've been in the district for a while, we're into our middle school and elementary school, and I've had my share of good and not so great, and then not so great. Is there a way to get the model? And I know every school has a set from all grade levels of like the premier teachers. Where the administrator would say, if my child attended this school, they will be in your class, they'll be in your class. Can we get those teachers to share their method or whatever they're using? I know it's hard for everybody to allow teachers to be creative, but in my personal experience, it's not working. Creativity is not working for some people. And the good teachers are getting frustrated because the challenges. But I gotta have my son kindergarten teacher. She said she may retire after this year
her parent is saying she's giving too much work for a kindergartner, but she's preparing the child for the first grade. And I know what's on the horizon, you know, these tests and all this stuff, but she's not doing anything that I would do. But, okay.
That just
To
speaks.
get that in mind, like, as far as the school level, this is what we're doing.
I'll let, Dr. Lee may want to speak to that, or someone else, Dr. Wilson or someone. I'll just say that we do have very clear expectations as to what teaching and learning should look like in every classroom. And then, of course, like a spectrum, high quality, low quality, and our goal is to move all of our teachers to high quality. And on any given day, everybody's not there yet, and it just takes work. They've got a different amount of experience, expertise, talent, skills, abilities, etc. And so hiring well is important. So then once we hire, we've got to train them well additionally. Dr. Lee.
So continuous learning is important for all of us, leaders, teachers, the community. So we have several training models, and we understand with today's educators, we have to use different types of training. So the traditional pull you out, come to training is not always working. And so we have online or blended models that we use, but also at the school level, each school has a department lead. Most schools have an academic coach who is responsible for working side by side with teachers. But we also have a process where we go out and do focus walks, and during our focus walks, we pinpoint, quote unquote, star teachers who are displaying those exemplary practices. And that's feedback that we share with school leaders. Like, this may be a teacher you want to have a peer come, a colleague come observe and work with and work closely with. And so we are just trying to use various angles because we want our students to have the best education no matter which teacher's classroom he or she is. And there's a quote that I love that says, every student deserves a great teacher, not by chance, but by intention. And so that's what we're really aiming to do. Dr. Beasley mentioned earlier some clear instructional practices that we've streamlined, and we feel like by streamlining, we can go deeper. And so if our teachers know how to teach to the standard, but also engage our students in academic discussions, making sure that they're writing every day, reading and writing, and that they're posing those good, thoughtful questions. And if we kind of key into those key themes, hopefully we can spread it across multiple teachers instead of trying to do so much to get teachers to know about so much. So a very good question.
And I wish I could say that the argument that the parent says the teacher gives too much homework will go away. I've been around 25 years and I hear it everywhere I go. And some parents say they don't give enough, some parents say they do. And that's just a situation or a conversation we manage as educators, trying to do what's best for children. And I don't care what we do, we never please everyone.
I worked with a teacher first year, TAP, all that, super. But doesn't always happen like that. I mean, she came in just great. I mean, no class could teach her what she knew and had in her heart. So, we just really just hope that they mentor. In fact, she asked me to mentor her. But that's all we can do. But, for example, in the community, I just think one thing we could do, baby boomers, I'm one, we need to speak up more. For example, I heard out my window the other morning, or other day, I heard somebody with a very authoritative man voice saying, I'm going to call the police. You're out here with no shirt on, your pants are half down, and your undies are showing. I'm going to call the police if you don't just stop walking around this complex like that. I was like, yay! We need that. Now, of course, the guy kept walking. He was about 17 years old. He was on his cell phone. He kept walking. Could have been ugly.
Yeah.
But the guy was in his car. He was in his car going this way, and the guy was walking this way. So he was, it wasn't like in your face type, but he heard him, and I believe he would think twice. Hopefully, next time.
I think if you build a positive relationship with the students.
I agree, and I had some discussions with somebody before about, with this, and they were like, but at the time, what can you do? And the same day, I was driving up, I saw a young lady with a midriff, and I mean, this was a short, I've never seen one like this, where it was all out, except, I'm not even gonna say the N-word. And I started to stop. But because I did not have a report and didn't know her, I was like, no, because she could have been going, I don't know what she was going through.
That could have been all she had.
Exactly. And she looked really like dozed out. So you just don't know what somebody's going through too. But that's why I'm thinking if we come in the communities more, come to them somewhat, build that rapport first. Because parents don't want to be told about how to take care of their kids. We know that. Don't you say nothing about them kids. But if we build that rapport, just like teachers build that rapport, then they might listen.
That gentleman, and then I'll come back.
Hi everyone, I'm actually a college student. I didn't graduate from Clayton County Schools. I'm Fulton County School, but I was in the Capital League when I was in high school, and being in the Capital League, it taught me a lot. We couldn't have certain averages, you know, you can't fail. For me, I was the president. If I had less than an 80 in the class, I automatically lost my position. So for me, have you guys thought about implementing Greek-based mini-orgs? Because that way that gives kids something forward to look to. Like, you can look into that. If the Omega started a program and kids want to be Omega when they get to college, when you start to realize that you will lose certain things because of your grades, the slack is instantly picked up. And I've seen it. I started a high school organization my senior year, and my organization now is still standing at Westlake High School, and we have a plaque in the hall, and that's something I started my senior year.
I think many principals have programs, similar, I don't know if they're necessarily Greek-based, but I know we have many extracurricular activities, and just like you started a program, we have many teachers and students who give us teacher sponsors, so those things occur in all of our schools, period. Don't get anything started here today.
My name is Archie Lanier, resident of Clayton County. However, I want to ask about, have you actively, I think I heard you allude to it, but investing in positive media coverage for Clayton County for schools rather than reacting to the negative stuff that's going on. Two, partnership with businesses to provide internships or working summer jobs or working relationships with the students while they are engaged in school with some of the same pursuits of subject matter they're studying. And thirdly, are there any initiatives or considerations for removal of the RSOs out of the schools so that the principals and administration take more discipline back, as opposed to the other part is the school to prison pipeline expedition?
I'm going to start with the third question. The answer to that is no. And SROs are not there to do discipline issues. That's the role of teachers and principals, etc. They're there as a resource. And so we're very clear in our training and expectations that we're not contributing in Clayton County to the school to prison pipeline, period. Now, I'll pitch it to Jada to go to your first question about communication and getting the positive messages out there. And I will just say that if we've not seen positive coverage of Clayton County in the last year or so, now I don't know where we are. I'll let Jada.
I can only echo. I think we and my colleagues would agree, we have probably undergone an extensive campaign to rebrand ourselves and tell our story. And tell our story in a positive way where we have extended the relationship to media affiliates now. Yeah, we have some that will obviously come and they have to tell their story in a way that is unbalanced to us at times, but for the most part, I think we have gained greater coverage in the news, locally and externally. And we have, and also extended the branch to having ambassadors to tell our story. I think everyone understands at this point, whether you are an elected official or whether you are a member of our organization in the auspices of a principal or a school or a district leader, students, everyone is telling our story in a positive way. And I think that we're sharing our message in a positive way. We have extended our platforms. We're streaming live right now so that we're breaking down the barriers. If you're not able to attend our meetings, great. Well, we got you. We'll stream it live. We'll post the video coverage the very next day so you can stay connected. So that's our goal and that's our mission. And it's a part of the superintendent's 5 areas of focus: communicating effectively with our stakeholders. And I think that you are our stakeholders. I think that you too can weigh in and tell us if we are communicating effectively. But I would have to say, I guess in a biased opinion, that we are.
And I will just say, Jada did not mention, this year we met with all of the major media outlets.
Absolutely.
We invited them in because we want them to understand the work that we're doing. We wanted to build a positive relationship with them. And now we can't take responsibility when somebody does something silly on Tara Boulevard, whichever pronunciation you go by. I hadn't figured out which one it is. When they do something silly and it lands on the news, we can't own that. But, and honestly, when an employee does something silly or illegal and it gets into the media, all we can do is respond to that. We have our internal processes to address that. But this is what I'll say, and I've said this several times. If there are 365 days in a year and you hear one incident regarding one adult, we've got over 7,000 employees, over 55,000 children. Please don't come to a negative conclusion about the rest of us because one adult or one person chose to do something. Isn't it amazing how there are some communities, one thing happens, no big deal. There are other communities, one thing happens and somehow we're the worst in the whole Georgia or metro area. Why do we think such of ourselves? We've got to change that, and that's why we build a rapport with the media. And so I wish we can stop bad things from happening, but I can assure you bad things are not the norm in Clayton County. And our community has to see that and acknowledge that and get the message out about that. If we go back and we keep a record of all the media coverage that we're getting as a school system, I can assure you the positive outweighs the negative. The question is, do we see that and do we acknowledge that? Do we know that?
Can you address all of your questions?
Oh, no, number 2, the internships. And I'll tell you this, our career technology department works diligently. We have a new initiative, U University, I believe it's called, where we work with the Chamber of Commerce to send out requests for internships, opportunities, etc. And we work diligently to connect our students to those opportunities. But I'll tell you this, there's work to do in that area. And that's why we're building our partnerships. We sent out a request twice last year. And I want to say out of all the businesses in Clayton County who responded, it may have been no more than 10. We appreciate those 10, but this county spends a lot of money on a lot of businesses. And so a part of our partnership efforts is we're creating a banner. When there's a partnership, a banner that they can place in their business or place of establishment, so people who spend money like you and me and everyone else in this room and parents can start supporting those businesses that are supporting our children and making strategic decisions to not support businesses that don't support our children. But I can't control that. I can just do my part. You as a parent, as a community member, and all others have to make decisions to put pressure, if you will, on those businesses wherein you spend your money to support, partner with our school systems. All of us, we can offer, we share, we can promote, we can invite, but it doesn't hurt when parents say, now, you're in this community, these are the schools in this community, we want to see you supporting these schools.
Clayton, and I was recently elected vice president of the 11th grade junior class at Morrow High School. I have a pretty general question. How is the school system trying to promote creativity among high school students when everything feels rushed and fast-paced for us?
Okay, that's a good question. Oh, my question to a question would be, what do you think the school system should do to encourage creativity among its student population?
I'm going to speak from a personal perspective. The way that I like to learn is through projects. And most of the projects that I have, one of my favorite classes is my environmental science class. And a lot of it revolves around doing labs and projects. And I was just kind of like, well, if every class is kind of like that. Because the thing with projects is that they give you time to actually figure out what you want to do. You actually get to research on your own and have that help from your teacher if you need it. It's not where everything is just slapped onto you, homework, do it the night before, because that promotes cheating. And if you're just like, well, I'm in all these extracurriculars, I'm going to cheat on my friend and not learn what I need to learn. And I don't know, I feel like if we just give time to have students actually think about what they do and give more emphasis on remediation and not think failure as a bad thing, but see failure as a thing that can build you up and make you learn from your mistakes, I think that we could see a better trend towards the student. Because I know my student body, and I know that the way that they get interested is also through incentive, but also through them actually saying, well, they think that failing when you fail, it's automatically a bad thing. And that's not the mindset that we need to have. And I'm not saying that failing is good, but it's just saying that, like, just say it's okay to learn from it, not saying, well, your life is over if you fail.
Well, sounds like Dr. Lee, she's giving us a task to assess to see how much of that we have going on in our schools, and we do have surveys that we can go back and look at. And I'm hopeful that more of what you described is occurring in your classes is happening across the district. So we'll monitor that to see.
Yeah, because I'm taking AP US history, and there's a lot of students who you wouldn't think that would be, oh, well, their test scores don't reflect their intelligence, you know. But I see a lot of like smart kids in our class that society has deemed as not smart, and they're really like, I was impressed with them when we went over our tests because I was like, oh my god, they knew that and I didn't. So
well, you better get ready to say that's quite a bit.
So I just think it's important that, but the thing is that the reason why they learn that is because our first test that we took, we all failed. And we had that review, and we had that remediation, and we went over it, and it was like, it was encouraged that we study, but it was the fact that we were given like time to actually think about what we were doing and just, yeah.
So what I hear you say is you want to see more project-based learning occurring?
Yes, but like with project-based learning, I want to see like not just something that you find on the internet, just like
authentic.
Yeah, just like
Problem
genuine.
solving. Yeah. See, now that's an example of what we have here in Clayton County. Give her a hand. Great job.
Thank you. Hey, Dr. Beasley. My name is Rosalind Brooks, and I just want to talk a little about my experience and my children in the Clayton County school system. They went to Anderson Elementary, they went to Forest Park Middle School, they went to Forest Park High School, they all graduated. I remember in the school system, it wasn't a nursing school, but we have that now. So I was really surprised with that. So that was one thing that I noticed has changed. We didn't have a lot of counselors in the school, but we have more than 3 or 4 now. We actually have resource centers now that we never had. We never had a location in the school that parents could come into and actually talk to somebody, have literature, information, whatever. So that was a plus for me. And I've actually watched all of this the last 10, 15 years change. One of the things that I do from a personal standpoint for myself that has to do with students in school is this. You have a lot of students in school who are in foster care in high school, and then once they graduate high school and turn age 18, they are emancipated out of the system. That's a critical time for a high school student who's in foster care. So one of the things that I do personally, I partner with a student every year when they get in their senior year, and help nourish them to get over that threshold. There's some things that I do personally that's outside of the school system, but I monitor them all the way through their 12th grade senior year. And one of the things that my goal is that they receive employment and that they have some relief. And those are a lot of things tools that they don't have, maybe in the foster care system or within the school system. So one of the things that I would like to see, I don't know if it's in the resource center or something, but something in the school system. I know we have a school social worker, I know there are issues, I know there are other critical things that need to be, but that where those students could receive some type of enrichment help to get them across that threshold. I don't know if that area is already being focused on in the school system. I know each student is already identified by account or how many there is. Not so much say that they're in foster care, but through a casework or whatever, so. But it would be nice that it was some type of program that could focus within the school to those seniors for that school year upon their graduation. And I don't know if we have anything like that. I don't know if we're doing anything directly with that.
I don't know, and someone may can tell me, I don't think we collect information that identifies if a kid is in foster care or not. I believe they submit residency like everyone else. Do we collect that information? Foster care? I don't think so. And so the services that we would provide to all students.
Right.
That would include students who may be in foster care.
Right.
And so if you have specific services that you think that we should consider, or if we have a gap, you can just let us know so we can figure out what we believe the gap is.
Right.
They get academic support. They can get support through our circle of support for services that the school system may not can provide. We have a very active homeless department in the event that they're dealing with homelessness.
Correct.
So if we know what the gaps are, then maybe we can target our conversation and target our efforts.
Right.
So if you have something specifically, just let us know, and then we'll have to check into it to see exactly what we're doing to address that particular issue. Okay?
Hi, my name is Marie Peters. I'm the grandmother of an elementary school student here in Clayton County. I also volunteer at a school. I have several questions to ask. One of the issues that I see at the school my grandson attends is we have some DES classrooms. One of the classrooms where, at the end of the 9 weeks, that classroom has already had 3 temporary teachers in that classroom. I'm there in the school a lot. I see some of the issues that evolve around that. I also have a background in special education, so I realize the importance of these children not only being given the right to their public education, but also to have that security, that stability, and to have a qualified teacher in that classroom. There are 7 children in this classroom. We started with 9. And like I said, it's disruptive because these children don't know on a daily basis who's coming into that classroom to teach them. And because they have had 3 temporary teachers, it's 3 different teaching styles. I mean, what can we do about that? That's one of my questions.
Well, that's a great question. As a matter of fact, we were discussing that question today. And just so everyone will know, what we're dealing with, most of the vacancies that we have are in special education. There is, not only within the state of Georgia, but nationally, a shortage of special education teachers. And so we are working to balance two things: the needs of students with the availability of teachers who are prepared and trained to provide services to our students with exceptionalities. That is a very delicate balance, one that we've got to, as we were discussing today, we've got to figure out more creative solutions. And so we're reaching even to the state, because other school systems are experiencing what we're experiencing, trying to see if we've even offered some the use of technology, if you will, to provide services. But as you well know, there are just certain students, I don't care what the technology is, they need a teacher. They need a one-on-one teacher. And so clearly when we can't find a teacher, we use subs. We hopefully can find a full-time sub who can commit to the year, but oftentimes that may not be able to occur. Therefore, we have one sub who can stay at one period of time and we bring in another sub. But really our goal is to find teachers. And I'll be very honest with you, it is a challenge in the area of special ed. And so that is just an area that we are addressing. And we're trying to think creatively to figure out what do we need to do, realizing that the schools of education, they've got to send us some special ed teachers.
And we need, as well as the substitutes, because some have come to our school, and when they see the class that they are subbing for, they leave because they're not prepared to work with children with special needs.
And we believe that some of the requirements to become a special ed teacher are becoming so onerous to people that people are not interested in being special ed teachers. And so that's just part of our reality. No excuse, but it's part of our reality, the situation that we're managing and we're trying to mitigate for. So I apologize if that is the situation, but it is one that we are addressing.
I have two more quick questions. In the handbook, it's in the makeup work policy. Now, I know that if a child is absent, they are allowed to make up their work. Question that we encounter is sometimes children are not doing their classwork and they receive a 0 for that day. If you get 2 or more zeros for not completing your classwork, your grade, I mean, how are you going to be able to bring that grade up to a C or even better? So what we've been talking about and wondering is, can they do some type of extra classwork to help bring that grade up? Because like we said, 2 zeros, and what's going to give the child an incentive to try to bring the grade up? They already know that they're failing.
That's a great question to have with the principal. Again, as principals, principals always have to walk the balance between providing students an opportunity to show content mastery, and then when students who, for whatever reason, choose not to do the work, then we can give them a 0. And philosophically, we're always in this debate. Well, even if they didn't do it, do I require that they do it and then grade them? But should I require that they do it, or expect that they do it, or give them a chance to do it when they were cutting up, and that's why they, being a discipline issue, they hadn't done it. And so we're constantly having that conversation. I would defer to providing your students an opportunity to do the work, because what does the 0 really reflect? Nothing. It doesn't reflect that the student has learned or not learned. It just reflects that you gave them a 0 because they didn't do it at that moment. And so, I don't know, Dr. Lee, do you want to add anything to that? I know we have very clear policies, and if that's an area that we need to look at, I know some districts have even gone as far as not even allowing 0s. We've not gone that far, and I don't even want to get in that debate because I've been in that debate as well. But.
And my last question is, I know that some school systems have gone to the standard-based report card. And is that something that Clayton County is thinking about, looking into, considering? Because I think that would be very helpful to a lot of parents, especially like in the area of math, okay? Okay, you get an A, you might get a C in math, but maybe you're doing well in multiplication, but you can't do division. So that's not really telling the parent you know, really what their child is doing. And with this Common Core, so many parents don't understand this homework. And so they're just kind of like out there in left field. So, you know, is that something the county is looking into for the future?
We have discussed standard-based report cards. Honestly, we had to put a lot of energy and a lot of time into really talking about it. I know a few districts that have done standard-based report cards at one point, then they pulled back away from those standard-based report cards. And so it's something we can discuss. I don't know, I always go back to what's the intention. The intention is to report progress on student learning. And we're in a system where you've got, if we go standards-based, our students are still expected to apply to colleges and universities to show a final grade, and then you've got to work out all the details relative to if you're just reporting progress on a standard, how does that weigh into the cumulative grade, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so, Dr. Lee, you want to add to that?
And I'll just say that until we possibly transition to state-based grading, there are other measures that our parents can access to see how well to gauge their children's learning. And so we have a couple of assessment tools that we have in our district. So for instance, in kindergarten through 8th grade, we have what's called iReady for reading and math. And it provides very descriptive detail around students' current performance on grade level standards, as well as we have our benchmarks. So we give district benchmarks to assess in each of the 4 content areas. And so at any point, parents should be able to speak to their principals, their teachers, to find out how is my child progressing on the grade level content, even through those tools that we currently have. Also, all teachers have learning progressions, or essentially the list of the end of year goals. So they're not written as detailed as the standard, because the standard can be very cumbersome and a lot of wordiness. But they basically have what's called learning progressions, a list of the skills that students should master by the end of that grade level. So when you're having conversations with the teachers, they should be able to pair the assessment results with that list of skills to be able to have a descriptive conversation around where your child is or grandchild is acquiring that knowledge and skills. And what grade level is your going? 4th grade, yes. So that, again, iReady reading and writing, as well as the district benchmark. We've already given one. We're getting ready to give a second one October 29th. And so at this point, you should be able to have some good information about your grandchild's performance.
That's our time. We're tossing it back to you, Dr. Beasley.
Okay. Well, thanks everyone. I'll stay here for a few minutes if you have any questions of me. I want to say thank you all for being here today. There is, again, a list of critical conversations on the website. So if today was just not enough for you, you can always come to one of the other scheduled opportunities that will occur throughout the school year. But again, thank you all for being here, and I hope this was helpful for you to get a good idea as to what we're doing to move our district towards higher levels of performance. Thanks everybody. Have a great evening.